Welcome back, everyone, to Team Building Tips on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with Dan Talbot and team building tips for this week. But first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can find out more about what Hometown Ticketing can do for you and your school by going to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts. Hometown Ticketing. Simple and easy online ticketing. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their teams play better using video and analytics. Huddle is the complete performance platform. They have online tools, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. There's always been analytics, but there's a whole lot more. Huddle is also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high schools and colleges, and even the pros use Huddle to help their teams play at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes and the coaches of the college teams you're trying to get to recruit them. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support. Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and see what these fantastic products can do for you. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. Check them out and see their tables and boards in action. We also want to say thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in registration. But Final Forms is more than just registration. Final Forms is a team, it's technology, and it provides schools with compliance, communication, and risk management solutions. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility, and it has reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that go with athletics. Final Forms can also help with team communication and attendance, and even certification management for coaches. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. And it does this with secure language translation and ADA compliance. You know, it's time for you to talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you, go to finalforms.com/Jake. Once again, that's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles and an extensive library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or you can call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Team Building Tips on the Educational AD Podcast. Every Thursday, Dan Talbot, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the County Athletic Director for Polk County Schools in Florida, shares some tips from his vast experience as a high school AD and now county AD. So, Dan, what do you have for us on episode number 3?
All right. So we discussed, building your team and how to handle that and getting your coaches on board. But why are we all here? Why do we do what we do? And hopefully you just, in your mind, you said for the kids. So let's look at, getting the kids on your team, because the kids can be a valuable resource for you, especially if you have a relationship with your student athletes. I mean, we'll get to parent issues soon enough, but the student athletes, if you have a relationship with them, man, they can make your life a lot easier when it comes to their I think they're called bulldozer parents nowadays. That they've moved past helicopter, but they're now bulldozers. So trying to get the student athletes on your team and building that team with your student athletes. So one thing I did, and it was probably the single most craziest thing I've ever done, and I had to win favors with the kids. So I asked each coach, could I practice with you one day? Treat me as a player. I'm going to go through what they go through. And every coach looked at you like, you're like, what is this crazy guy? I said, look, I want to know what it's like to go through your program so I can have an understanding. Because, if parents come to you and say, well, you don't know what it's like out there. Ma'am, I visit practice often. And in fact, I actually went through a practice, and then that catches them off guard, especially the parents. And so I wanted to go through, of course, when you have a girls basketball team that's ranked in the nation, that's, probably not the best thing to do. And, it took all I had not to throw up, in the gym, because that 3-man weave up and down the court will get you, and you could tell I'm a big guy. So the swimming pool was fun, especially doing the diving, trying to do a dive, and, they weren't most of dives and cannonballs, but you know what? The kids loved it. And the kids got to see another side of the athletic director that they could relate to. And so one thing I started doing is letting those kids know, I thanked them at the end of practice. Hey, enjoyed it, got to spend some time with you, because there'll be a time when I'll have to address you and it may not be pleasant, but we have a relationship now and we can talk. With the one thing I always did, I think it was probably the genius thing, and the principal today even calls me that I took advantage of her and, pulled the wool over his eyes, is because I told all the student athletes that if you ever need me, I'm here, and come see me at lunch. I don't want to pull you out of your academic classes because you are a student athlete first, but come see me during lunch. And if no one's there by the, first 10, 15 minutes, then I'll go about my day. But, it got me out of every day, 15, 20 minutes of lunch duty. And then sometimes it got me out of lunch duty, but it was great for the kids to be able to come down. And the one thing is, I remember our girls basketball coach, they're highly ranked in the country, came into my office and half his girls were in my office eating lunch. And of course he kicked them all out, didn't know what was going on. I said, Coach, what's going on? And I said, Coach, they're just eating lunch. He goes, I've never seen that before in my life. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, the kids just want to hang out with the athletic director. I said, well, where do you think I'm going to get all my information from? I mean, you got a relationship. The kids are going to tell you what it's really like to be coached by you. And so when I do get a parent complaint, I now have a relationship with the kids to find out, did that really happen? Because we all know when we meet with parents, and we'll discuss parents later on, that playing time always seems to circumvent the issue. It's going to end up at playing time at some point. So building your team and building your relationship with your student athletes, and I'm not saying you have to go out there and put on a football helmet and football pads and get crushed and sue me or, sue this podcast or Jake, but find ways to build, your relationship with your student athletes, because they can be a valuable resource. I mean, it's great. And, but also too, those kids are going to tell you some things that you're going to have to keep confidential, and not let coaches or administration know where they came from. But the kids can be your best allies if you just open them up and let them know that, you used to coach, tell them stories about when you used to coach, and just give them an avenue to be approachable. Because, how many people do you know that say they have an open door policy, but the door is never open? So you got to leave that door open for kids. And it's not going to happen right away. I spent a lot of times in the lunchroom, especially on the away games, finding out the scores. So in Florida, we have a rule that we have to report our scores in the max preps after every game. So I took that off the coach's plate and say, text me the score. I'll put it in for you. I wasn't doing that just because I had nothing better to do. Because what happens at 6:30 in the morning when you walk into school? Hey, did the baseball team win last night? Well, the baseball game was 2 hours away. You didn't go. You're at home, watching American Idol. So you have no idea if the baseball team won. But if that coach texts you after the game, hey, coach, we won 5-3. You can walk in and not even blink an eye and say, yeah, they won 5-3. You weren't at the game. And people just get astounded, like how much you know. And so it's just all about relationships, but build those relationships with your kids. Your student athletes, let them know they're students first, athletes second. And I think they can be a huge part of your success and part of your team.
Another, spot on point. I'll start with the thing about the scores. Most of my career was at private schools, and there's still schools, there's still kids and parents, but our parents, boy, if that score wasn't up there for their son or daughter's game. And so I did exactly what you said. I told the coach, shoot me that text when you're on the bus or whatever. And it takes me 10 seconds to upload it. And again, it takes one thing off their plate first thing in the morning.
It's a lot easier to text me that you lost than tell everyone else that you lost,
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, coach, hear from when they win,
And for the kids, just being another ally, another voice, another place that they can go. That's certainly the primary reason to do those things that you did. And I don't think enough of us do that sort of thing, but a nice byproduct of that, there's a phrase now, usually it's applied to parents, about getting the parent to carry your banner and be a positive voice for your program. When you got those kids on your side, they're going to be carrying that banner on things like sportsmanship and crowd behavior and, all those things that we just sometimes pull our hair out, that how come the students don't do this? If we can get those kids, as you said, on our side, carrying our banner, wow, it makes a great job even better.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because, if the kids are carrying your banner, the parents will too. And then you're going to have parents and moms and dads that are your biggest advocates for other parents, and say like, hey, because I think when everyone, thought of me when I was at the school base was, you're not always going to get what you want, but he's fair and he'll listen, and he will talk to you, because, I mean, it's amazing how many phone calls I make back. I mean, this is the best story that, so back during the pandemic, we got hit hard with our wrestling tournament. It was like a 68% positivity rate. We had teams from all over. It was, I made the decision because you got to remember, Florida, it's still suspect if COVID was ever here, depending on who you talk to. So I made a decision, the only one in the state of Florida, I shut down all winter sports from over the entire Christmas break. And in theory, I shut them down before. And then when we came back from Christmas break, in theory, over 2 weeks should have passed. Everyone, if they did what they're supposed to do, and everyone should be healthy, and we should have a nice, fresh, clean restart. So my superintendent was like, hey, if that's what you want to do, I support you, but you're going to have to stand in front of the cameras and do it. So I said, not a problem. So of course, at that time, I got on a Zoom and I'm starting to look and all these people are popping in: CNN, ABC, NBC, Fox, USA Today. And I'm like, what did I do? That was a big mistake. But, I faced the music, and did I get a lot of pushback? Oh, I told my secretary, I said, hey, I'm about to cancel sports. For not cancel, because I use my words carefully. I'm about to suspend sports for a few weeks, and I'm going to lunch and just take a message, and I'll call everyone back. And I was here till 8:00 that night, and I called everyone back, and every parent that I called back was shocked that I called back. And so now, those same parents that wanted my job over Christmas break 2 years ago are now carrying my banner as a district athletic director, because I called them back. And then I go to wrestling meets. It was mainly the wrestling, the parents, because there was a big tournament. But now those same people that I just simply return their phone call, made our relationship even stronger. And we'll get into, especially with parents, because it's a big part of our job, and it's what wears us down.
Yeah, no, you're so, again, spot on with that. Just those simple things, returning a phone call in a timely manner. And usually that parent, they're just waiting to blast you. But
Correct. Because what I tell every principal in our district, I said, you got to give your time. You got to give your athletic director time to be the athletic director, because in every school across the country, it's the same thing. There was an incident the night before. The parent calls up at 7:30, and if your AD is tied up teaching till noon, well, 8 o'clock comes, 9 o'clock comes, no call. 10 o'clock comes, no calls. 11 o'clock come, no phone calls. Well, now that parent has reached their boiling point, because remember, they're the most important thing in the world at that moment in time, and they want their phone call back at that moment in time. And by the time the athletic director gets back, they've already called the superintendent, the school board, their pastor, their preacher, whatever. They've already involved way more people, to where you get the phone call, take a message, find out what it's for, go to the baseball coach, say, hey, anything happened last night to be aware of, get that side of the story, call them back. And then now just calling them back in a timely manner, honestly, keeps less people out of it. But we know how it is for us when we're anxious and we're in a hurry. Every minute that passes is like an hour. Well, understand that's how that parent feels when something happened to their baby. Every minute that passed seems like an hour. So you got to kind of put themselves in their shoes a little bit too, but we'll talk more later about that.
Right. That sounds like a whole LTI course. Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, again, these are all great. Appreciate you sharing with our listeners. If one of them wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, make that phone call, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, if this is your first episode tuning in, I appreciate it. But like after every episode, I'm going to give you the magic phone number, and that's a number to my personal cell phone, which is 863-661-0647. Again, that's 863-661-0647. Call or text anytime.
Okay. And again, if you are new, Dan Talbot, County AD at Polk County, Florida, longtime athletic director and coach. He's also involved with the FIAAA's certification program. He's Florida's certification coordinator. He can answer any questions you might have on that. Give him a call and get some more wisdom. Dan, always a pleasure to catch up with you.
They got information about the cohort. You're a fellow cohortian with me, and so we both can answer questions on that.
That's right. You just wrapped up your cohort experience, and you and I have talked about already. For ADs, if you've got your CMAA and you're looking for that next level experience, reach out to the NIAAA, find out when the next cohort is going to be released, because that's kind of how it is. They're released, limited participation. I'm hoping to actually be a part of a leadership cohort for middle school ADs.
Okay.
That's going to be coming out right around. They always start around the national conference in December, but just keep checking back with NIAAA on the website.
Sign up should go around November, because we'll meet face to face at the national conference. I'm on the mentoring cohort right now, so we meet. Our first meeting was in Denver, and then we meet monthly Zoom, and then our final meeting will be in Nashville with them. So.
Right. Great program. But again, Dan, thanks as always for our listeners. The Zoom recordings of every interview get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back again next Thursday for more team building tips, and just about every day for the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. We appreciate everyone tuning in for team building tips with Dan Talbot. And just like the podcast, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. We want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. They've got interactive touchscreen video consoles to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students. The FIAAA has a Wall of Fame console for our organization's Hall of Fame, and it's just fantastic. You really need to get in touch with these folks. That's Vital Signs, walloffame.com. Also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. They sponsor the AD Toolbox segment of our regular podcast. And if you've never used a survey, you really are missing out. Most of my career was at private schools, and we did surveys all the time. And the information that you glean from them is so very valuable. I encourage everyone to reach out to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Their email is info@athleticsurveys.com. Also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. I didn't get a chance to really use online ticketing. I retired as COVID was hitting, and it just hadn't come into vogue then. But I've done my research. I've talked to a lot of ADs, and Hometown Ticketing is really a great program, and their customer service is just off the charts. Go to hometownticketing.com and find out how they can help your school, not just for athletics, but choir performances, performing arts, even graduation. You have tickets for that. Also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive. We were one of the first schools in Florida to have a Sideline Interactive video board in our gym, and it's just tremendous. It was a fundraiser program. It made income for our department, and the kids and our fans just love the message board aspect to it. Email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. Also great customer service. Also want to say thanks to Final Forms. The FIAAA uses Final Forms as their registration platform for our conference, and they handle everything. The registration itself, the workshops, the LTI courses, the hotel, it's all through Final Forms, but you can use it for your school to handle scheduling, eligibility, coaches certification. Go to finalforms.com/Jake for more information about the Final Forms platform. And finally, we want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. It's fantastic. As an athletic director, we were a Huddle school. Our teams all used Huddle for the video recording and the analytics. We had a Huddle focus camera in our gym, and it was just fantastic. Go to huddle.com for more information. So again, thanks for listening to Team Building Tips and the Educational AD Podcast. Come back again next time. Until then, have a great day.